This one was a big miss for me, and I'm sad about it. I started out really liking it, I ended up not liking it very much, and that's Model Home by River Solomon. I'm Ashley, your spooky ghoul friend. If you like all the spooky things, go ahead and click the follow button. So, this book started out really good, it held my interest, and I felt like it was one of those where I kept reading it, waiting for the good part to start, waiting for the exciting part to happen, waiting for things to kind of ramp up. This story follows our main character named Esri. They are non binary, so they use they them pronouns. So the story starts in their childhood. Basically, it follows the story of Eve and Emmanuel, which are Esri's sisters, and you kind of get to know their mother. But the father isn't always kind of in the picture. He's just out doing different things, I suppose, and just not always home. You'll see how they're dealing with this haunting that's happening in their house, just weird, strange happenings. Fast forward to when all of them are grown up. Esri has now moved to the UK and has a daughter named Elijah, and then Eve and Emmanuel still live back in Texas, where they're from. After receiving multiple text messages from Nightmare Mother, which is whomever haunts this house, and then also receiving some calls from their sisters, basically the sisters pay for a ticket for Esri to come back home. So Esri makes a trip back home. Also, the parents have been kind of non-existent or absent, not really answering phone calls and things. They haven't been able to get a hold of them. So basically, Esri's coming home for that reason, to go back to the old house and check out what's happened, because they're the oldest and the other two are kind of too scared. Once they get there, Esri finds that their parents are unalived, their mother is floating at the bottom of their pool, and their father is just laying sprawled out unalived on a lawn chair. And that's all I'll kind of tell you. That's pretty much the synopsis summarized. And basically, my issues with this were that it was kind of slow. Again, I was waiting for the exciting part to happen. It was kind of more depressing and sad more than anything. And it also at times felt kind of confusing, because for the longest time, Esri's doing the narration, or the narration is about Esri. And then you kind of get towards the end, maybe 75%, and then you're kind of hearing the narrator talk about Elijah, and then you're hearing the narrator talk about Esri. So it's like this, I don't know, alternation between the two. It also kind of gets confusing and almost falls apart at the end, just because one chapter certain things are happening, like there's the funeral, and then the next chapter it feels like it fast forwarded some, but I don't know, it just kind of got confusing at the end, and it also felt rushed at the end as well, like they were just trying to wrap everything up. So I felt like they could have cut out a whole bunch of stuff in the beginning and just, I don't know, went more in depth with the ending. But when you find out who or what Nightmare Mother is, when you find out what the hauntings are and how they've been happening and why they've been happening, it's just kind of disappointing. And you find out that the hauntings are just things that haunted Esri for most of their life, and the hauntings are not supernatural, but things. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I was very disappointed by the end of this, and I kind of felt like I wish I would have read another book and maybe DNF'd this one instead. I feel bad saying that. The writing was great, again, and the storytelling in the beginning was great, but it kind of fell apart at the end for me. And then the big reveal, I was just like, goodness. I basically summarized the whole book to my brother, and he kind of rolled his eyes, because he's like, of course. Yet another book written with, the typical themes that we as Black people tend to deal with, which I get it, but also I just wish we would come with something different sometimes. There's messaging about racism and moving into a rich neighborhood and you're the only Black people there. Like, it kind of gives them vibes. I think Lovecraft Country, maybe even. So, just another story where the real horror is the racism that's happening within the town. And I'm just like, we live enough of that. Like, I would love to see something else, something different. So, something else I didn't love, which is just a personal preference, but I don't love when books mention TikTok and Instagram and different apps, and I check their social media. Like, I just personally, I prefer not to hear about any of that, because I live it, and I guess it's reality, but I'm just like, I don't know, I love books written in a different time period. Hence why I love Slewfoot, or even books based in the 80s, or something of that nature. So yeah, this one was a big miss for me. I'm disappointed because I really love the cover. But if you're looking for something that's genuinely scary, spooky, etc., don't read this. It's not going to give you any of that. It's just real life horrors that are terrible, but kind of played out and uninteresting to me.